Good. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the March 27th, 2024 Kildelway Hills Board of Commissioners meeting. I call this meeting to order and invite everyone to please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And as we enter in tonight's moment of silence, I invite everybody to please say a prayer for all the people and their families who perished in the Baltimore bridge disaster this week. All right. Before we get going, Commissioner McAvoy is not able to attend this week, today's meeting, but he did send his regards. First item of business we have is an agenda. Board, chance to take a look.
Sir.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, all opposed? We have an agenda. First piece of business we have are this meeting is our public hearings. Casey, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mayor. And tonight we're going to have 3 public hearings. And the following rules are going to apply to these hearings. A public notice was published in the newspaper and posted on bulletin boards within the town facilities and a website that meets or exceeds statutory requirements for the subject matter. A copy of the public notice has also been filed with the town clerk for entry into the official record of the hearing. Town clerk will be recording any comments tonight in a concise and brief manner. Any submitted written statements will be recorded in a similar manner and made part of the record for each hearing and must be submitted, of course, in full to the town clerk prior to the hearing. All speakers, if any, should come to the microphone tonight and identify themselves by giving their name and address. No debates in these scenarios. Also, time limitation of 3 minutes if you're speaking on behalf of yourself, and a 5-minute exception is made if the spokesperson is speaking for a group or if your statement's been submitted in writing to the clerk. So now we've got the first public hearing, which is called for the purpose of the KDH Board of Commissioners to consider the following: the Town Code Amendment to Chapter 153.310, Cottage Courts, and Chapter 153.311, Cluster Homes. And these are proposed modifications to regulations which within these within these ordinances, specifically though to include 1,800 square feet maximum per structure with a 20-foot separation between each structure in the ocean impact residential and commercial zones. If anyone's interested in speaking, you can approach the podium. We'll look to see if anyone signed up tonight to speak. Okay. Is there anyone else in the audience tonight who would like to speak? All right.
Good evening, Duke Garrity, Out of Bank Stone Builders, Kildelway Hills. To speak, I spoke with you 2 months ago, and I haven't changed my mind. I think the planning board had it right. The planning staff had it right at 2,000 square feet instead of 1,800 square feet. Talked it over to our legislative and building code committee. They were under the same impression. I think even 1,800, and I'm all about compromise. I know it's a compromise, but I think doing people who come here, the people building it, a favor keeping it at 2,000 square feet. And I do agree with you that 2,500 might be just a little too much. I like the idea of the 20-foot separation of houses. Makes it look a little less like an alley. But so I'm hoping you take it under consideration to try to bring it back to 2,000 square foot maximum. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the audience?
We ask questions.
So yes, ma'am. Come to the podium. Yes, ma'am. And just state your name and address.
My name
Please.
is Lori Ann Freeman, and my address is 1717 Bobby Lee Trail. I just have a question as to how they are able to get so much lot coverage on their lots with each individual home, because I know that I'm dictated by a certain amount of lot coverage that I can cover on my lot and restricted to what I can build. And I just wanted to know how that was possible, because I'm just new to the area. I just moved here permanently, and I had no idea that this was going on. I read this 20 minutes ago to come, so I'm kind of.
Cameron, it sounds like the question is on the parcel that we're discussing, which that's one difference right there, which you can go into, but lot coverage requirements on these parcels.
Yes, so on the oceanfront, you're looking at usable land, which is your land from your first line of stable natural vegetation on the beach all the way to the front property line. So the lot, I'm guessing you're referring to on the beach road, it's a large lot. And also depending on where you are, if you're on Bobby Lee Trail, your lot coverage is maximum of 40%. It's a higher lot coverage allowance on the oceanfront. So that's a difference too. There's also the development that you're talking about took advantage of some pervious concrete, which allows for an exception for a slightly even higher lot coverage. So there's a difference of zoning district, and it's a lot of land there that may not look like it from the road, especially as you start to see.
Yeah.
But I'd be happy to talk about that further
Okay.
later.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Anyone else in the audience want to speak on this matter?
I'm Alan Creech, 308 Holly Street, Kildare Hills. I missed Mr. Garrity's first talk with y'all. I think when you submitted the re-proposal of 1,500 square feet, it seemed like there was some discussion about that's not a wanted property. 1,500 square feet homes sell all the time. They rent all the time. The community, the actual residents of Kildare Hills have actually been pretty vocal. And I guess we're coming down to where the rubber meets the road. Do you represent the citizens or the developers? And that's kind of my view on it. I'm a realtor, so I'm probably putting my job at risk by voicing opposition to it. But I think the setbacks are better. Everything's better. The homes don't need to be that size. If you build it at 1,500 square feet, it's like Field of Dreams. If you build it, they will come. Like that. That's my opinion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. And for anyone who just walked in, we're on the public hearing concerning amendments to the cottage courts and cluster homes part of our ordinance. So if anyone else is out there and wants to speak, please come do so.
Hi, my name is Rick Pittenger. I live at 515 Coakley Drive, and I'm not going to take up much of your time, but I don't want to see the smaller square footage. I'd rather have the larger square footage, just for the same reasons this gentleman just relayed. Thank you.
I think
Thank you.
Backwards.
Opposite.
a smaller footprint.
Is that what you're saying?
No, I want a bigger footprint.
You'd
Right,
like,
it's smaller homes.
you'd like a larger home on those?
Yes.
That's opposite of what I.
That's okay.
All right. Anyone else?
Okay, where are you gonna speak?
Are you? Go ahead.
All right.
No, I can't, because that's Holly Nomini, whatever my new address is, 1627 Village Lane, I believe. I am not 100% up to speed on this. I did take a moment last night and drive through the court. That's tight back there, folks. If you have a fire engine in there, people won't be able to leave. There will be no egress at the same time. I also have some concerns about the fact that that lane, it's basically the end of your driveway, street end of your driveway right on top of each other. I have concerns about kids running out, people getting hit by cars if they're not paying attention. I don't know how check-in and check-out with housekeepers and inspectors is gonna work. I think it's gonna be a cluster, if you will, for our cluster homes. I think if we can again, just keep in mind how that space is gonna be used thoughtfully and safely. I think that we can continue to use the highest and best use and make sure that people are still profitable, but I think there needs to be more space back there. Thanks.
Can I speak a bit since I didn't voice my opinion?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I agree with Lady in the Green. That is very tight. That's what I'm worried about, the children's safety and people trying to get out of there. And people that are lost all the time that come down Beach Road and they try to turn around. They're almost gonna need a stoplight right there to get anybody in or out of there. I actually do some home inspections on Saturday and Sunday. And I know that people show up early to rental homes. They come early, they wanna hang out at the house. And that's just gonna jam up the whole system there. I do believe that 1,500 to 1,800 square foot is doable in any situation on Beach Road. You don't have to have all these monstrous houses to make money. You can do it with a smaller footprint. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else? All right. Close public comment then. And we'll
All right,
turn it
now.
over to the board.
I know, Cameron, I'm going to turn it over to you. This is obviously a subject that a lot of people are passionate about, not just from comments tonight, by all the email activity we've received on this. So I'd like to turn the floor over to you to kind of talk about the history behind this, how we got where we are, and really educate people as much as we can.
Happy to do it. We've been talking about this for some time now. Just for the audience and board, just to kind of go back to history and see how we got here. Back in August, we actually had this conversation of we need to have some more regulations due to some of the unforeseen effects we've seen of this new development. So we brought you some ideas on some things to tighten up the regulations, and these were some of the major ideas that came from that. As we all know, the development of cluster homes and cottage courts, especially on the ocean front, was developed as a tool for another development option other than just large homes. What's another viable development option other than just what we've been seeing for the last few years of large homes? So that's how we got to even that use being brought back into the permitted uses in the oceanfront, our commercial zone, and other places in town. Now, we brought ideas for increasing separation of structures, reducing the size, and also a greater setback on the oceanfront to help that development blend better with what we've been seeing in the past. So we put all those items together, but those ideas came out of the board hearing people in the community voicing their concern with the development they're seeing. So these rules are direct impact of a board directed amendment at trying to address some of the concerns we're seeing. So that's what we brought forth you today. That went to the planning board in October. There was some concern with the size of structure with some of the developments we've seen. The planning board felt that 1,500 square foot was their recommendation for the right size for the maximum. But even during that was tabled in October for their consideration to really think that over. Because the idea isn't necessarily to adopt development regulations to prevent us ever having another cluster home again. It's a hard balance. It's to keep it as an option for development, but also what's the right number of square footage. Staff originally suggested 2,000 square foot because 2,500 was what it was before, and we knew that was too much. We wanted to still keep this to be a feasible development tool for our community. So that went through planning board. They recommended 1,500 square foot, and that's what originally we had a public hearing on in February, was on 1,500. And at the time, the board tabled that decision to really look at that number to see if that's what we wanted. Brought it back up at our last meeting in March, and came up with 1,800 really seems like a better number. You're talking you can fit a 3 to 4, a spacious 3, a smaller 4-bedroom home on the ocean front at 1,800 square feet. That's kind of how we came to that number. And that's where we are today. These are development regulations that the town has put together to try and reel in some of these unforeseen effects. And that's what we're voting on tonight. So I'm happy to answer any of the, a lot of what we're talking about is the number of maximum size of house. There's a lot of other stuff worked into this. The front yard setback on the ocean front, You know, if the front yard is 100 foot wide, you've got a 100 foot setback. That's gonna really make that development look a lot more common to some of our other development types. That's a big thing, at least for the vision of Kill Hills. We heard a lot of comments about the bulk of how some of these developments in the oceanfront look. That'll be a big difference maker. And also separations. Not that everybody's built to the minimum separation of buildings, but we also worked in with that maximum building size. That if you do want to build to that maximum 1,800 square foot size building, you've got to make it the maximum separation regardless of the building type. So there was some zoning tools used to minimize some of the effects that were of concern from some of the citizens that you had been hearing from in the past. So that's how we got to where we are today.
Thank you, Cameron. Very good. All right, I'm opening it up for board discussion. Any comments or questions? How does the board feel about this update?
I have one question. The 20-foot separation, can anything be put in there?
It can be. This is from the actual structure itself. So
Okay.
we're not talking necessarily excess parking or accessories. or
Okay.
anything like
Okay.
that.
Waffle blocks?
I'll leave that to you.
Um,
I'm not familiar.
I'm not familiar
Yeah.
with that either.
What, waffle blocks?
Like the paving, are
Yeah.
you saying?
Yes, this is only to the
Pavers.
structure. These are only the houses
Yeah.
themselves.
Um, any other questions, comments?
Seems like a fair compromise in the middle to me.
I agree.
Well, we've had a chance to really discuss this at length, both from our board and the planning board level. We've gotten a lot of input tonight and a lot from citizens up to this point. And what's the temperature of the board? I'm happy to look for a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the town code amendment 153.310 cottage courts and 153.311 cluster homes. The proposed modification to regulations specifically to include 1,800 square foot maximum per structure with a 20-foot separation between each structure in the ocean impact residential and commercial zones.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that
Did I say it
with
wrong?
a question. Do we need to state that it's consistent?
Yes, please.
So you maybe need to amend the motion to say that it's consistent with all comprehensive
Yeah.
plans and official adopted plans of the town of Kill Devil Hills that are applicable. And it's reasonable and in the public interest because it refines regulations of the town's vision.
I'll second that.
Do you, Mr. Ingham, do you amend your motion to include what Mr. Gray, what
Yeah,
Commissioner Gray
that'd be the
just
way
said?
to do it.
Perfect.
All right, we have, and
And the second.
And do
will
we have a
accept
second on
amendment.
that?
Yes.
we have an amended motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion? All right, then all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 All, any opposed? All right. We got through it. 1A.
Very good.
You ready for the next?
All right, let's move on to our next public hearing.
So now the second public hearing will come to order. And of course, the same rules of procedure apply. This particular hearing is for the Board of Commissioners to consider a town code amendment to chapter 153.355A, which is site plan requirements, and 153.357 site plan review process for commercial, multifamily, and special use applications. And it's to revise the number of copies required for site plan review. Is there anyone in the audience who wants to speak to this? Didn't think so. A little bit more mundane. All right, nobody's out there, so I'll turn it over to the board for discussion.
Cameron, just to maybe give a little background on this, is to how, with the current ordinance, how many copies of a site plan is a applicant required to provide?
Yeah, so during every round of review, it's 15 copies by ordinance. So it's far more than we really need to operate from an administrative or record retention policy standpoint. So 15 for planning board, 15 for commissioners. Sometimes it goes through, it always goes through 2 rounds of staff review. So we've had, the development community, explained that can be, well over $1,000 in copies of large format paper that gets distributed electronically as well. So this would cut down that big time, and there's a lot of good plan review software and things that we already use for reviewing it digitally as well. So, but for record retention policies, 5 copies would cover us.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty nice savings for our applicants, kind of shave off the top. I'll ask the board, any comments, questions? How do y'all feel about this?
I'm good with it.
Mhm. Plus it saves some trees. So.
It saves
Yeah,
some trees?
Save a
Yeah.
tree or two, yeah.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Green.
It keeps us green.
All right,
Mayor, I move that we approve proposed zoning amendment 153 point 355A site plan requirements and 153.357 site plan review process for commercial, multifamily, and special use applications. Reduce numbers of copies required for the review based on the fact that it's consistent with all comprehensive plans and official adopted plans of the town of Kill Devil Hills, and the amendment's reasonable and in the public interest because it reduces the town's carbon footprint while meeting the town's record retention policy.
I'll second that.
all right, we have a motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion?
Yes, sir.
Hearing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? It passes. Okay. 2 down, 1 to go.
Making your job easy, right?
Yeah.
So the third public hearing will now come to order. And this public hearing is being called for the purpose of considering a town code amendment to chapters 10, general provisions, chapter 150, building regulations, chapter 151, flood damage prevention, chapter 152, subdivisions, and chapter 153, zoning. However, all of these amendments are tied to one particular purpose, which is to modify the notice of violation, civil penalties, and appeals process to clarify those procedures. So though we just called out a lot of chapters, the substance of what's being changed in each chapter is the same. Let's say it that way. It's for the same purpose. So, all right. Anybody in the public want to speak on this particular amendment? All right. To the board.
All right. We have another public hearing. Any comments, questions, concerns from the board?
None here.
No.
Hearing none, welcome a motion.
I will make that motion that proposed zoning amendment to section 10, general provisions, section 150, building regulations, and section 151, flood damage prevention, and section 152, subdivisions, and 153, zoning, modify notice of violation, civil penalties, and appeals procedures to clarify procedures that is consistent with all comprehensive plans and other official adopted plans of the town of Kill Devil Hills that are applicable, and is reasonable and in the public interest because it provides consistency and clarity to the town's violation procedures.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Unanimous. We have a third. Okay.
Thank you.
Casey, I'll try to leave you alone for a little bit. Okay.
I'm always ready to talk. We can go.
All right. All right. Next portion of our meeting is public comment. Now is the time we set aside for public comment. This is an opportunity for anyone in the audience to address the board on any topic of their choosing. We do ask when you are called upon, approach the podium, speak into the microphone, and identify yourself by name and address. There will be no debates. Please keep your comments to 3 minutes if you're speaking as an individual, and 5 minutes if you're speaking on behalf of a group. That said, if anybody would like to speak on anything else, the public comments are open.
Hello, my name is Rick Pittenger. I live at 515 Copley Drive. The reason I'm coming up is I'd like to have somebody in the town contact me regarding Ocean Acres Drive. If you've not driven down Ocean Acres in a while, it's becoming more and more like a washboard. It really is getting bad. And even at slower speeds than the speed limit, which is 25, you're just driving over like a really super bumpy road. And I just think that, I brought this up about 4 years ago and nothing's been done. And I just want to know, what's the plan? That's all. Thank you.
Mr. Fincher. All right.
Michael's taking his information right now
Okay, good.
Okay.
for contact purposes.
While that's going on, would anybody else like to speak at this first public comment period? We will have a second one. Oh, we just have one tonight. Never mind. So
No.
we have plenty of opportunity for folks to
We have
speak
another.
already, but anybody else?
We
like to
do
speak?
have another.
We do have
Mayor.
another?
We do.
We
It's
have
on the,
another.
It's on the second.
it's a
on the second
2-page
page.
agenda.
Oh.
Page.
Everyone spoke. Would anybody else like to speak? Yes, sir.
I'll just back off
Creech.
what Rick said. Allen Creek's 308 Holly Street. Ocean Acres is really bad. I'll go around it if I can, but when I'm going to see, they're taking my daughter to their granddaughter's house. It's rough. It does need help.
There you go. All right. Would anybody else like to speak? All right. Hearing none, we will close our first public comment section and move on to response to public comment. Thank you, Mr. Odell, for collecting our residents' information. And I trust that staff will follow through with the prompt and comprehensive response to your questions and let you know where we're at Ocean Acres Drive and what the plans may be going forward. Anybody else like to respond?
No, that was the same thing I was thinking.
All right. Town manager, do we have any ongoing business this evening?
No, sir.
All right. New business, item number 1. Town Zone Amendment, Chapter 71, Traffic Regulations, Ordinance 72.71.25, no through traffic permitted in certain streets or intersections within the town, / elimination of code section to remove inconsistent or outdated ordinances. Town manager, do you mind filling us in on this a little bit?
Absolutely. Mr. Mayor, the item, the intersection of Landing Drive and Port Hope Court, under the current ordinances, residents may drive out of their neighborhood by Landing Drive, but they are technically not permitted to return. This has become obsolete because of the section of Port Hope Court that was closed. So that needs to be removed. And then the intersection of 6th Avenue and West Baum Street, although a full 3-way intersection was recommended during the development of the First Flight Schools complex, only northbound traffic from 6th Avenue is permitted due to the concerns of increased traffic in the undeveloped area. With the development of single-family dwellings in the immediate area, full utilization of 6th Avenue for north and southbound traffic would increase safety and the potential for improved emergency response time, and also make it more efficient for our sanitation trucks to get in and out. And so we would like to recommend that these 2 items be removed from the town code.
All right. Thank you, Town Manager. Any discussion?
Nothing major.
All right.
I've got a little hiccup with the 6th Avenue with the Baum Street. When the traffic leaves the school, it's directed out to the bypass through Baum Street at the stoplight. If you don't do that, then you're going to have infiltration in the neighborhoods, with all the school traffic. My question is this. I'm wondering if the people in that area have an opinion or, I think we ought to somehow give them an opportunity to voice any opposition that they may have rather than to just do it. That's my concern.
All right.
I don't know whether we should hold a public hearing, on the changing of that street.
You can, it's not required, but you
Right.
certainly can.
I understand it's not required.
Right.
But or at least hold off on it and do some notification. We could do that as well. But then how far do you spread that? I think a public hearing would probably be better. And you may not get a response, but I think we owe it to those homeowners on 6th Avenue to do that. Just my thought.
All right.
And I know Cameron and I talked about it a little bit, and his thought was that we could sign it, include some signage that, you still would turn left to go.
US
Right,
158,
right.
yes.
To just still indicate that
Sure.
it's not necessarily, Alan and I wear it out in that area. We're like, if you bring anyone to the school, you're constantly wearing it out. And I will say, I see your point on 6th Street. I do understand that. I think it's becoming increasingly more difficult for those homeowners that are on Veterans on the north side of Baum. Accessing their driveway is got to be really difficult. And opening that up probably would ease that a little bit. So I think, but I see what you're saying. I know it's like you're gonna fix one problem and make one problem worse. But I will say, not everyone uses Baum to access living on Swan. I would say at least half of them access everything else through Swan Street,
Right.
which is my street. So, which is fine. It's fine. I'm not complaining, but it is, you are in a block neighborhood, so that it does make, more sense to.
Well, I think some people
Open
do
it up,
violate
but-
that as well,
Right. Yeah. I see people
So,
all the
yeah, I
time
think
going
that
down there
happens as well.
anyway. So there's that safety factor, like for kids walking north to go to school. So anyway, I'm fine with giving it a public hearing. I just think, I can see. where
And you may
it
just
would-
be able to post a sign and take it up at our next meeting, put a sign up there, letting people know that there's going to be a possible change.
Well, if we did a public hearing, we'd have to put signage out anyway, correct, Cameron?
The yellow.
Well, but I don't know. In a case like this,
Mm-mm.
no,
No,
because we're not
Wouldn't
really under the.
necessarily.
Yeah, it's not required.
We're not under the
But you'd have to
requirement.
But
do it.
we would post a public hearing notice
Mhm.
Right.
online and
Right.
in the newspaper.
Yeah, I'm not for any, I don't think we need to do a great expense to, send out
Mhm.
note, because again, you don't know how far you have to go. How
But we
far
would
you
just
have to
do
extend notification. But
Traditional.
Yes, we would just do
Statutory
the statutory post for public hearing,
Mhm.
which what we do is the Coastland Times, and then it would be electronic to our Sunshine
Right.
List, and just the way we typically do. But we wouldn't need to do anything on the site. I mean, there would be an expense, but it's not a large one.
Yeah, I just think I would feel more comfortable knowing that we gave the citizens that notification. And they may not have any concerns about it, but
Yeah.
There seems to be support for scheduling a public hearing for the 6th Avenue and West Baum Street change. But in regards to the intersection on Landing Drive and Porthole Court,
I don't have a concern with that.
Could
Well,
we-
that's kind of a moot point because it's closed
yeah.
Right.
at the
Mhm.
other side of Porthole Court.
Mhm. Well, I was thinking
But
we
you
could.
can split them up. if
Can we
that
do
was-
one ordinance can we do maybe a motion for a
Yes,
public
sir.
hearing on
Mhm.
one and go ahead and
Yes, sir.
an ordinance to go ahead and move
Yes, sir.
forward with the other one?
Right.
Listen for a motion if someone would like to make it.
Mayor, I would move that on new business item 1, that we approve staff recommendations on the intersection of Landing Drive and Porthole Court, and that we schedule a public hearing on intersection of 6th Avenue and West Baum Street for, what's our,
In lieu of holding vote tonight on that matter, correct?
what's our next date?
Oh,
Wednesday, April 24th. They give me notification.
yeah, you're gonna need to
April
do it on this 24th of April.
24th
Time
of,
for the 8th.
to be held on the 24th of April.
At 6 PM, sir?
Yes.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion? Right, hearing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right,
Thank
it
you.
passes.
Mhm.
All right, next item of new business are appointments. We have 2 seats available on our planning board, 1 seat on our Board of Adjustment, and 1 seat on our Historic Landmarks Commission. Commissioner Hyken, you were a very busy young man before you got on our Board of Commissioners, sir. Left a lot of empty seats in your
Try to
way.
join them all. Yeah.
Yeah. But, all right, well, I guess we can start with the planning board. I think we all got the email with the Dropbox and all that. And I would like to compliment staff on in the past, we've kind of stubbed our toe a few times in getting the names of all the applicants and having access to it. The email with the Dropbox was very user-friendly. And
Yeah,
thank you very much.
very good
It was
idea.
real easy to get to it.
helped a lot.
But in regards to the planning board open positions, I open up for discussion amongst the board. What are your thoughts?
My pick was on one position, Philip Whalen.
Okay.
I think that he would do a good job. I actually think on the second position, I think we need to hold it open and not fill it right now. And let's have some more consideration unless someone else has a nominee.
All right. Further comment, questions?
I would agree with that.
I would as well.
All right, so I'll invite a motion to nominate Philip Whalen to the planning board.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second, nominate Phil Whalen to the planning board. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in support, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Congratulations, Mr. Wayland. Just to indicate too, we had 2 seats available on the planning board. 1 has been filled and we still have 1 vacancy. While we do have a list of really awesome applicants, if anybody else would like to, apply to any seat in town,
Sure.
they're open.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes,
just as I understand, this will be for the term that expires November 2026. Would that be
yes.
accurate? Thank you, sir.
Yes.
And is there a time frame in which you'd like for this to be brought back to you to fill the second seat?
I think we can, maybe the next public hearing a month away.
Yeah, be fine.
So the
Yeah.
April 24th meeting.
Very good. All right, appointments, section 2, Board of Adjustments. We have an alternate seat available. What's the board's fancy? Any thoughts?
I had picked Grant Fletcher,
Fletcher?
was my thought.
How's the rest of the group feel?
I agree with that.
All right. That said, I'll welcome a motion.
Mayor, I would move that we appoint Grant Fletcher to the Board of Adjustment, an alternate member for a term that will expire October 2025.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Congratulations, Grant Fletcher. Okay, one more seat to fill. Historic Landmark Commission. How's the board feel?
I have dealt with an applicant for that.
Okay.
Her name is Amy Scarborough. She did some volunteer work and did an excellent job. And I think that she would do us a good job. So when I saw her application, I automatically said, that's the one I like. So I don't know what everybody else thinks, but
All right. So welcome a motion for Amy. Anybody like to make that?
I'll make a motion for Amy Scarborough for Historic Landmark Commission.
Yeah.
second.
We have a motion. We have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Congratulations, Amy Scarborough. Seats are filled. All right, next item on our agenda is committee reports. Anybody have any reports to share with the town?
None here, Mayor.
For me, sir.
No, I have a CSU meeting tomorrow.
All right. Wow. Yeah, Miss Sue tonight. All
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
So, now is that tomorrow at 8:30 in the morning? Okay. If
Tomorrow at
anybody,
8:30, if anyone would like to join us.
very good. Moving on from committee reports. Next, we have commissioner's agenda.
Nothing for me, sir.
Nothing for me. Oh, Trash Attack has been moved. I'm sure you all know, but just to remind everyone, Trash Attack, April 6th.
April 6th.
Yep.
Wanted to congratulate Commissioner Ingram on, from what I understand, and the mayor on an excellent job with the State of the Child.
Oh, yeah.
I think that was well received, and I've heard a lot of comments about how great it really was.
Good.
And I know you put a lot of effort in it, and, you know, kudos to you.
Thank you. Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
And thank you so much for Ms. Diaz for joining us
It
for
was
the
very
day.
good. It was a good day.
It was good. It was really good. Yep. Lots of really good outcomes we're hoping for from that. So,
That's all, Mayor.
All right. Moving on to mayor's agenda. I got a few things to share. First is a proclamation declaring April 2024 as Child Abuse Prevention Month. Kill Devil Hills annually partners with the Children and Youth Partnership to highlight Child Abuse Prevention Month every April. As part of that partnership, the fire department hosts the Because Someone Cared display of multicolored cutouts of children. Each cutout represents one or more real children who receive protective services in Dare County. Interceded with the cutouts are pinwheels, which represent the efforts to focus on community activities that support families and public policies that prioritize prevention to make sure child abuse and neglect never occur, giving all our children a bright future. North Carolina's Code 7B/301 is a mandatory reporting law that requires any person who suspects that a child has been abused or neglected to report to the Division of Social Services where that juvenile is located. Reports can be made by contacting the Dare County Department of Health and Human Services Social Services Division at 252-475-5500 from 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday, or by calling 911 in case of an emergency. And I'd like to make the motion to proclaim April 2024 as Child Abuse Prevention Month.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in support, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, we have a proclamation. Just take a couple moments to echo a few sentiments already shared. Thank you, Ivy, for reminding everyone Trash Attack is April 6th. We got rain and holiday delayed us a few weeks, but this is for anyone who has not attended Trash Attack. It's a wonderful event for our town to come together. Hearing how passionate people were tonight, and in person and online for the cluster home ordinance. I'd love to invite every other people to show equal amount of passion for Trash Attack and come out and help us clean up our town. It's a nice chance to come together, and the town benefits from it. Ivy, I definitely want to thank you again for your work on the State of the Child Conference. It was a wonderful event, extremely well attended, and very, very high energy with lots of fruitful discussion, wonderful presenters, and a lot of good next steps. It was a pretty cool thing to volunteer at, and happy to have that opportunity. You did an awesome job.
Well, thank you. Thank you for volunteering too.
And Commissioner Ingram, another thank you because you attended the March Housing Task Force meeting in my place, and thank you so much for doing that, and for Ryan Lang as well. He was representing the town there as well. So you've been very busy. Thank you.
Of course.
Okay, moving on to town manager's agenda.
No, sir, thank you.
Town attorney's agenda.
I have nothing, Mayor. Thank you.
All right, let's move on to the consent agenda.
Yes, sir. Minutes from the March 6, 2024 meeting, budget amendments, budget amendment number 8 to provide funding for the local programming development initiative grant funds from the Government Education Access Channel. Reimbursement resolution for fiscal year 23-24, declaring the intention to reimburse the cost of certain expenditures. This is basically saying that we'll pay for what we'll pay back what we borrowed. Approval of the consent agenda will approve the reimbursement resolution for fiscal year 23-24, declaring the intention to reimburse the cost of certain expenditures and allow the town to reimburse itself for cost incurred for the purchase of the above items with loan proceeds. Staff recommends approval of the consent agenda, and a motion would be in order.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Any opposed?
Thank you.
All right. We are back to what I always overlooked, our second session of public comments. It's been great hearing from folks tonight, and this is one more chance. If anyone would like to speak at public comments, now is your chance. The floor is open. All right, hearing no one, we'll close the public comments. No more comments, need to respond, so I will look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 We adjourn. Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
Happy Easter, everybody.
Happy Easter.
Yep.
Sure.